You're saying this only to make me go.
I'm saying it because it's true. Inside of us, we both know you belong with Victor. Now. He's looking at you, kid.
Now say you're a bird too.
If you're a bird, I'm a bird.
I know you wrote the letter. The only way you can meet my
Crazy was by doing something crazy yourself. Thank you. I love you.
All right, so contrary to what you think about the intro to this video is not a meme. This video isn't making fun of romantic films. Well, I mean, not entirely. What I want to do in this video is investigate the question, what is love?
What is love?
And that's not right either. More accurately put, what is love in film? Romance is a subject that's tackled relentlessly in movies. For the entire history of cinema, it's been one of the most widely used concepts and has provided for some of the most iconic tropes in film. Since the release of foundational films exploring some form of romance, like Gone with the Wind and Casablanca, it's clear that love is a vital centerpiece of genre that a myriad of movies have focused on, and will continue to focus on in the future. Why is this the case? Why are romantic films such a formative part of history and really all of media? People that are much smarter than I am could probably explain factors of psychology, film history, and economics that make love a lucrative market for filmmaking. If I'm using my half-baked armchair sociologist and film critic opinion, I think the constant outpouring of these types of films deals with the fact that human beings need love. As rational creatures, we strive for love, to love someone and to feel love in return. It's something that we yearn for constantly, even on a subconscious level. In nearly every interpretation of a human's need to survive, like the ones I show here, love is consistently suggested to be a vital part of the human condition. If I'm being sort of meta with my point here, it's funny that the constant pursuit of love in the real world is almost mirrored in the sheer abundance of romantic films released every single year. In fact, in 2018 alone, there were over 50 films that were released in the romantic subcategory, and that's excluding foreign films, documentaries, and films that don't fall onto the vanilla category of just romance. Now, even though I recognize the importance of love in the context of human psychology and ultimately filmmaking, I'm aware that the market for romantic films is saturated, and quite frankly, most of the films released in the category aren't very good, with a few noteworthy exceptions. But with the demand for romantic films being so high, I continually wonder, what are the best romantic films? Leaving out the cringy and tepid films in this category, and I mean, there are several, there are plenty of films that strike an excellent balance between being a great film and conveying an effective love story at the same time. But in my mind, I don't think there's a film that has more accurately shown the beautiful and traumatic aspects of love than James Ponsol's coming-of-age film, The Spectacular Now. Also, mild disclaimer, even though I have read the original novel, this essay will only be based on the film. Something that I find so beautiful about The Spectacular Now is the way in which the story is presented. From a plot synopsis, one would probably assume the film is a cookie-cutter teen romance story that we've seen a million times before. But thankfully, this is not the case. The love story, which is wonderful by the way, falls into the background of the film. Now, you may be wondering, if the love story is not the main focus of the film, then why is this my favorite love story? Well, the movie presents love in a way that is palatable for young people. Throughout our entire lives, love is depicted in entertainment to be something idealized, something fulfilling, something that each of us want to attain. A goal, put simply. And while an important life goal is and should be finding love, I don't know if I can concretely say that love is just some attainable sentiment that all human beings strive for. Maybe love is beyond just a goal, and maybe love is beyond just a sentiment. From the way we experience love, sentiment becomes experience, and experience becomes growth. So, in this sense, I think love is an emotional rite of passage, something each of us have to experience in order to develop as human beings, and how that experience ultimately changes us. In the same way, The Spectacular Now is not just a film about love. It's a film about how we react to love, and how that reaction can shape our view of the world and ultimately the way in which we view ourselves. Let's take a look at the main character, Sutter Keeley. Sutter is an 18-year-old popular high school kid. He's a character that is completely carefree, treating parties, social standing, and alcohol consumption above all else. However, his most defining characteristic is that he experiences life as he wants to, in the here and now.
This is the youngest that we're ever gonna be. Live in the now. Enjoy being who you are.
Because of this disposition to only exist in the present, Sutter is afraid to commit to anything, whether it's his academic future, job, or romantic pursuits, seen in his first relationship with his girlfriend Cassidy. After getting dumped, Sutter goes on a dissociative binge of debauchery and drinking, leading him to meet his character foil, Amy.
Hey. Hello. Hi. Hi. Hi.
Where the hell am I?
Do you live around here, Sutter?
How do you know my name?
You go to the same school. You wouldn't know who I am. I'm Amy Finnicky.
That's what I was gonna say. Nice to meet you, Amy.
This is the first element of young love that this movie gets exactly right. More often than not, love surprises us. In the most unlikely of scenarios, love can rear its head in ways that we do not expect. When applied to real life, love can subvert expectations and catch us off guard, either by the encounter itself being unexpected, or the person being one that we never really even considered or have seen. In this particular case, Sutter is surprised by both. From their first official meeting, it's clear that Amy is everything Sutter is not. Though they immediately become platonic and friendly with one another, Amy is truly the yin to Sutter's yang. She's concerned about her academics, she likes things like anime and superheroes, and above all, she values her life beyond one immutable characteristic.
Alright, so like what's your thing?
My thing?
Yeah, everybody's got a thing. What's your thing?
I don't know. I'd like to think that there's more to a person than just one thing, you know?
When Sutter and Amy begin their friendship, Sutter treats it as if it's something with an expiration date, something fleeting. Like many of the things in Sutter's life, he views interactions with Amy as a means to an end. In his mind, to help her develop some much-needed self-confidence and to encourage her to deal with her tough home life. This is rather ironic because if anyone needs to evaluate their own personal problems, it's Sutter, but more on this later. After some math homework and some impulsive drunk behavior, Sutter and Amy's friendship turns towards romance. Sutter is clearly in a different place in life than Amy, and Sutter even admits to himself that his attraction to her is somewhat counterintuitive, given the life that he's led up until this point. But this is what makes the pairing of Sutter and Amy so emotionally impactful. This is not the union of two high school archetypes that we've seen a million times in every single love story. The jock falls from the nerd, the popular girl dates the outcast, the homecoming king smitten with the new girl. Instead of falling into the normal cliches that we've come to expect from these types of films, the unexpected romance between Sutter and Amy truly feels like the merging of two complementary halves. This aspect of the spectacular now is so accurate to what most people experience in young love. Being a former adolescent, like 75 fucking years ago, I look at the spectacular now with such an appreciation for the way it depicts the initial meeting of the two lead characters. It doesn't feel like a cinematic trope, and it certainly doesn't make you cringe like someone bumping into someone at their locker and then getting puppy dog eyes. It genuinely feels like the happenstance meeting that each of them didn't know they needed. But while the initiation of the surprising romance between Sutter and Amy is fluid and natural, the continuation of the romance is anything but, and the film proceeds into its second theme of love, in that love challenges us. A cliche yet vital aspect of romantic films is the struggle that accompanies a love story. Yes, love is almost always treated as an idealistic, beautiful thing between two people in a film, and it absolutely is that. But in my opinion, the best love stories ground a romance within the times that are absent of the original butterflies and passing glances. There are obviously struggles that surface from the romance in and of itself. For example, external despotic forces trying to keep the lovers apart from each other. The most clear example being Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet. Or a challenge could be something more grounded and tangible in present times, such as monetary struggles, wandering eyes, adultery, or any other trope that we've seen a million times. But in my opinion, love stories that feel the most hard-hitting and real demonstrate challenges that result from a reaction to the romance. When looking at the spectacular now, the film transcends beyond being a simple coming-of-age love story. The entire movie can be seen as Sutter re-examining his own life through the lens of this new relationship with Amy. Throughout the entire film, we see Sutter as a character that is afraid of change, afraid of being hurt, and afraid of wrestling with the consequences of his life beyond his present youth.
Everyone's telling me I gotta move on. I don't see what's so great about being an adult. Are you happy?
For his entire life, to deal with the emotional distance within his family, to deal with the notion that he has never truly known his own father, and to deal with the obsessive need to live in the present due to fear of the future, Sutter has blanketed himself in alcoholic tendencies and irresponsibility. And then he met Amy. Now, this is not to say that Amy stopped Sutter from engaging in this behavior. In fact, she actually enables it due to her disbelief that she's dating the popular kid in the school. The first time you saw this movie, you probably assumed that the major struggle within the relationship would be Amy asking Sutter to put the bottle down. But overcoming alcohol abuse isn't the challenge presented within the story. I mean, not directly. Instead, the challenge that Amy presents to Sutter is to finally address the repressed sentiments that he has harbored for his entire life, such as addressing Sutter's fear of commitment by asking him to move across the country with her.
I've been thinking a lot recently, and I think that you should come with me.
To
Philly.
Philly.
Yes. Yes.
The most noteworthy personal demon that Amy convinces Sutter to address is the resentment and desperation he feels from never truly knowing his father. Amy gives Sutter the courage to confront his mother about why he has never been able to meet his own father, and eventually he takes it upon himself to meet him. Sutter is obsessed with the idea of his father being a representation of something that he himself longs for, an idea of a man who is wrongly viewed by the world, who truly means to bring joy to everybody. The idea of himself is challenged when he actually meets his father. Upon meeting him, Sutter finds that not only is the idealized version of his father completely untrue, but he finds that his father is a dark look into the mirror of his own sunny ideology's future.
Live in the now. Enjoy being who you are.
Your mother didn't kick me out of the house. I left. But I'll tell you something, I don't live in the past, I live in the now, because that's what it's all about. Do you understand that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Meeting his father allows Sutter to evaluate his own life, and he understands that the nonchalance, drinking, and personal motto that have defined his entire life only have one possible end: the broken and selfish man that his father has become. He wrestles with his entire identity, and he is forced to accept it. And that is all because of the event set in motion from his romance with Amy. The relationship offers some much-needed insight into his own life and outlook, and this is the true brilliance of the way that Sutter and Amy's love story is presented in this movie. Sutter is able to see himself and the inner demons he has brushed off throughout his entire life completely clearly. And when Amy finally declares that she's in love with Sutter, he can't accept it.
Sutter, I love you.
You don't love me.
Yes, I do.
You're wrong. You don't love me. Do you not see that I'm bad for you? You need to get away from me.
It's a painful experience for Sutter, and his self-realization is one that he does not initially accept, demonstrated from him abandoning Amy as she moves to Philadelphia. This in turn leads him to a biting sentiment, one that informs all of the choices he has made up until this point in his life.
So special, Sutter. That's why everyone loves you so much.
Nobody loves me.
You are so wrong. Do you hear me? You are so wrong.
Though the audience likely has not experienced exactly what Sutter has, the film's insightful look at the pursuit of love allows for immediate relatability. Most of us have been in relationships that have caught us off guard. Most of us have been in relationships that have tested us and ultimately caused us to view ourselves through more lucid eyes. And in this way, the film invites the audience to look at love with not just optimism, but pragmatism. The very idea of young love instills a sense of fondness and joy within us, like we see in the beginning of the film with Sutter and Amy. And yet, we know that love in practice, while able to inspire tenderness, can harden us with the potential darker outcomes of opening our heart to somebody. The harsh realities of relationships, specifically in our formative development, is a concept that the film does not choose to ignore. And with the groundwork of love expertly set by Sutter and his experiences, the spectacular now concludes with its third and final aspect of young love. Despite the journey of young love and self-realization we've just been through, we end the movie the same way we started, with Sutter ruminating over a college essay. The once carefree demeanor demonstrated by Sutter is exchanged for one that's beaten by his own experiences. His life was once full, albeit full of immaturity, irreverence, and inebriation, and now Sutter's life feels as if there is a void lacking the keen optimism and philosophy of living in the moment, a void lacking the admiration and popularity given to him by his friends and peers, a void of familial relationships that he has taken for granted, a void of the idealistic father figure that he lived his life venerating, and most importantly, a void that lacks the love and affection that truly made him whole. It takes Sutter losing everything in his life for him to realize how much he truly had to begin with. And it's because of this emptiness he experiences after Amy and the other conveniences of his life are truly gone that Sutter is able to accept that he and he alone is responsible for what he's endured, for what he allowed himself to become.
The real challenge in my life, the real hardship, is me. It's always been me.
But instead of leaving a sour taste in the mouth of the viewer, Sutter not only accepts responsibility for his actions, but he realizes that he and he alone is able to fix them. He's finally ready to change.
It's fine to just live in the now, but the best part about now is there's another one tomorrow. And I'm gonna start making them count.
The Spectacular Now is what I believe to be the most accurate depiction of young love that there's ever been on film. It beautifully embodies the joy and sadness love can bring, especially when we are young and experiencing it for the first time. But the accurate manner in which it depicts love is not the only reason why I believe this film is so special among others in this genre. It's because it's a film about the reaction to love, how we react to it when it becomes a part of our lives, whether we choose to embrace it with open arms or let it wither away and live in the shadow it leaves behind. And the way in which the film concludes is virtually perfect for driving this point home. Sutter, with the courage to change his own life, finally goes to see Amy to reconcile what has happened. The film allows us for a moment to think that the ending will fall into the tired trope that we've come to expect from these films. The estranged man who threw away the love of his life begs for forgiveness, she accepts apology, and they drive off in the sunset living happily ever after. And after a lingering stare from Amy, the film ends. I admit that when I first saw the film, I wanted more closure. I wanted Sutter to finally be the man that he should have been the entire film, and I desperately wanted to see him reclaim the part of himself that he lost. But the more I think about it, the film would be cheap and tired if it resorted to that, because the film isn't just about Sutter and Amy living happily ever after. The film is about how Sutter responds to the surprise, the challenges, and the ultimate desire to change that this love has inspired within him. Whether or not they resume their relationship is irrelevant. The fact that he was willing to change his own life is enough to show the dramatic change that has occurred within Sutter from being in this relationship. Is his desire to change too little too late? Probably. But, as Sutter puts it,
It's not too late for me.